All right, question based on picture. New topic. All right, great. So I've got a few responses here, right? Now, I've used a visible thinking routine, which is very simple. That is the KWL strategy, which I am using as a trainer or as a coach. I am using this to know my cohort, know the understanding of the cohort in terms of what do they know about visible thinking routine. So my question was, what do you know about? So if you see the kind of responses I've got in this small time, is that not many people are familiar with this, right? So it gives me an insight about how I am going to take you through the process. What are some of the misconceptions that I see? Or there are a few people who have listed down the visible thinking routine, like I saw somebody sharing compass point, I see, I think, I wonder, I used to think, and now I think. So these thinking routines actually helps you gain an insight of your students' understanding, or if you are leading a session or you are a part of a cohort, it gives you where everybody is. What is it that I need to address? What is it I need to do? All right. Now, moving forward, the second question that I asked was, what is it? What are you curious to learn about? Or what is it that you want to gain after the end of the session, right? So let's see what you all have to learn more ideas from this session. Okay. How can we use it in the class? Okay. Yeah. So I'm still waiting for others to type. How to make students' thinking visible. Okay, it's learn to use it effectively. I'm excited to learn new techniques and skills, which will ultimately help me in teaching innovative ways. All right. Okay, so again, now what I see is that just after reading a couple of responses, I see that what you want is that how can we implement in our classrooms? How can we apply in our everyday plan? Where do we use it and how do we go about? All right, so let's move forward. By looking at one of the lesson plan that I've pulled out from Smile curriculum. All right. So I have picked up a grade 3 lesson, which is on sense organs. And the aim is to discuss different kinds of sense organs and their function. It's a grade 3 lesson that I've picked up, and I've picked it up from a Smile booklet. All right. So again, the second visible thinking that I'm using is I see, I think, I wonder. All right. So I have asked you to look at this picture here, right on top of this. And then what do you see in the picture? This is like a provocation. You can show a picture, you can make them listen to a music or anything. And then you have some probing questions. What do you see in the picture? What parts of the body do you think are being used? And what would you like to know about these body parts? These are the 3 questions that I'm using again to understand my students, right? So I would request you to type answer to this. Look at this picture up here. Instead of just picking up a book and just reading, going straight ahead with it, I've posed some questions. What do you see in this picture? I've asked my students, what parts of the body do you think are being used? And what would you like to know? Remember, the first aim that I shared was that through this lesson, we are trying to teach, or we are trying to get our students inquire into the sense organs and the functions. Yeah, so I see what parts of the body do you think of? Okay, eyes, hands. Okay. Child is using his senses. Okay. So I'll wait for some time so that you can start typing in your answer. I'm trying to give you a very hands-on experience to see, to help you understand how you would be using this in the classroom. So I've picked up one chapter from the Smile curriculum booklet, right? It's a grade 3 where we're looking at sense organs rather than just opening the book and reading. Okay, I have given you a provocation, and I've used a visible thinking routine. I see, I think, and I wonder. What do you see in the picture? What do you think? What kind of body parts are being used? And any questions that you have. Again, they would give me an insight about my students' understanding. What do how strong they are with their observational skills, right? And if they know the name body parts, can they build connections with the senses? And what is it that they're curious to know? What is it that they would like to learn more about? So I see a boy singing, hugging, seeing, tasting, smelling, and hearing. So Madhurani has written that. And then Neelam says eyes, tongues, nose, skin, ears. So that gives me an insight. Okay, my students know the parts of the body. All right. And when I see singing, hugging, I see that my students know the vocabulary in terms of action words, right? They can build connections to it, those images. Okay, let's see what else. I have a very explicit answer. Child is using different sense organs of doing different work. That gives me an insight that, okay, Sandhya probably knows that senses help you to gather meaning around the world. Okay, that's one insight I get as a teacher. And if you see, we are creating a common understanding. Like I'm reading it loud for you. I'm reading the responses. And even if students do not know, it's a shared space. We are trying to build a common understanding. So there's also the peer learning that's happening, right? Just rather than teacher leading and she's the one who says that I know it all, we're also trying to add on each other's understanding when you can read it loud in the class. The child is using his sense organs to explore his surroundings. Sakshi says that. Okay. As a student in the class who wants to know that, I'm sorry, where is it? It's moving. I was. Where is the one? Okay, so Shivani wants to know how these body parts are working together. All right. Okay, probably how should I make my students learn importance of sense organs during studies and even extracurricular activities? So Gandha, this is a question that we are posing to the students, right? So I think take yourself as a student, think that you're the student in the class. What kind of questions would you ask regarding the sense organs, or what kind of questions your students would like to put it down? What would they like to know about sense organs? How do they work together? Okay. Function. Okay. So like this, if you have a I see, I think, I wonder routine, you can actually strengthen your students' observational skills. Like, what do you see in the picture? It can be a picture, it can be you can take them out for a gallery walk, and you can encourage them to look at details. I've picked up a very simple picture so that it's easier for everybody to understand, but you can make it more complex. And you can have specific questions regarding where do you think is this incident happening, or where do you think the boy is, all right, what kind of feelings is the boy is having, all kind of questions. So you can add more specific questions to associated with the pictures. And like I said, what part of the body, because I wanted to know if the students knew the body parts, are they able to build connections to the sense organs. That's why I had put in that question there. So now we'll have the questions in the end. If there's a burning question, please unmute yourself and you can ask. Sapna, I can see your hand up. Okay. So if you see, I think, I wonder routine can be used at the beginning of the lesson, again, to get an insight or prior knowledge of the student. All right. So let's move forward and see. Now, a visible thinking routine will help me to know about my students' prior knowledge, body parts, and their function. So I see if a quick thinking about the kind of experience that I've given you with the KWL and the ICI thing, I wonder if you could put in your thing. So we have 94.9 people saying no, all right. They haven't participated. 18.6 say that yes. Okay, we'll wait for others. So you need to, if you think yes, it will give me a prior understanding of my students' knowledge, you click on the question, the answer A. If you think no, you click B. And if you're not participating, that's C. So I see 67.8 say no. We are waiting for them to participate probably. But most of you are saying yes. That gives you an insight about where my students are, whether they know something about the topic or no, or how do I need to go about engaging them. All right. So now as a teacher, when you've gathered insight about your students' understanding, then you start introducing the topics. So we are going to read something about sense organs with the students. So this is like when you are sharing the information, this intentional teaching that takes place. So human sense organs, you can read a book, you can watch a video together. I've pulled out the lesson. So sense organs collect information from our surroundings and send them to our brain. The brain helps us to understand the information received by different sense organs. All right. And then we look at each sense organ explicitly. Eyes. The eyes are the organs of sight. We see now this part can be a shared reading also. You can ask the students again, what do you see in the picture? Which sense organs is being spoken about or read, or what kind of a text it is. So it depends what kind of conversations you need to build through different routines. All right. So we can read it together. The eyes are the organs of sight. We see things when light enters our eye. The eye changes the light into image signals. The signals travel to the brain. The brain processes them as a sight or a visual image to help us to know what we are looking at. You can also ask the students, what do you think about the text? All right, what do you understand? So you can also see if they can make any inferences while reading the text. You can ask questions while doing this. So again, it's again building a shared understanding. All right, after you've got the responses from your first two VTRs. Moving forward, we are going to pick up another sense organ, that is the ears. The ears are the organs of hearing. The sound enters our ear in the form of waves. The ear changes them into electrical signals that travel to the brain. The brain processes the signals into sound and tells us what we are hearing. We listen to music as it is pleasant to our ears. Noise is an unpleasant sound to our ears. It can damage our ears. Again, we are reading the text with the students. We can ask them which sense organs have we discussed, so the children can participate in this, or you can again have a guided reading session with the students after the VTR that you've done, so that you're intentionally teaching them about sense organs. So like this, I have put in all the sense organs from your chapter. The nose is the organ of smell. We smell things with our nose. When we breathe in air, the smell enters our nose. It travels to the brain in the form of chemical signals. The brain identifies the signals and tell us what we are smelling. Again, intentional teaching, right? After I've found out that where my students were, because the students wanted to know about the function of the sense organ. They wanted to know about how they are interconnected. So we have some information in each text. The tongue is the organ of the taste. The tongue tastes the food we eat. Then it sends a message to the brain that tells us if the food is sweet, sour, salty, spicy, or bitter. Another sense organ, that is the skin. The skin is the organ of touch. When we touch an object, the skin tells us whether the object is hot or cold, hard or soft, rough or smooth, right? Again, the question that we had is what is the function of the sense organs? How are they interconnected? Again, we've added. I've just pulled out from the text, assuming that those were the questions that the students would ask. Okay. Now let's take a quick quiz, which I've already shared with you. So the quiz is: the brain plays an important role in the work of the sense organ. True or false? Right? That's again, you're engaging your audience or you're engaging your students, because you had how are they interconnected was your questions. So if you ask the students to participate in this, you can see whether your children understand the meaning of the text. They are able to, the question that they have asked, have they found an answer to it? Or was it just a random question that they were trying to ask or seeing their friends? Okay. Great. So we've got 14 people who've got it correct. That again gives you an insight. If you see, this is a quick assessment that the teacher can take in the classroom rather than having a very, and you have a data here right in front of you where your students are in terms of their learning. So you're trying to connect it to the first VTR, whether it's KWL or IC. I think I wonder to the wondering that the student had, that I've intentionally taught you. And now let me see if you can build connection. All right. So I'll wait for a minute. Let's look at this. Okay. Another VTR, think, pair, and share. Now, this is the time when you're focusing on, again, peer learning. You're looking at different perspectives. Okay, so you can again give a probing questions. How do you think the organs are interconnected? One thing was that we gave a very true and false. And this is the time when probably you found that some answers were incorrect in the class. There is peer teaching or peer learning that's going to take place. So you're giving different modalities to share the instructions, right? Sometimes children learn better when their friends can share it with them. And you're also looking at paraphrasing the text, paraphrasing the understanding. So how do you think the organs are interconnected? Looking at what we just read, you can ask the students to participate with their partners. Okay, let's see what you have to share. You can type in your, now if it would have been in the class, you could have actually asked the students to pair up, sit together and talk, but since this is a virtual platform, you can share it with the whole group. You can type in your answers here and we can look at it, what everybody has to say. Deepika says yes. And like if you see yes and no, the question is, how do you think? So you can again push your students further by saying, okay, share some examples or from the text, or give an example of something that you've experienced in your current life or in your day-to-day experience. You can share that, so that you can, that's how you push them further, right? Through connective tissues. All right, you can say, okay, well, now this tissue is not something that we read in the text, so I believe that the student has some prior understanding. So you can again push the child to say, what do you mean by connecting tissues? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Right. Okay, we'll have others to participate. So again, if you see yes, no, you can say, okay, share something more, give an example. All of these cells, vessels, and organs work together. Okay, they pass on the information to other organs. Okay, now how do they pass on is something that you can pose again, right? What you've read from the text. What was the common connection that you saw when we were reading the text together? Every sense organs are interconnected, receiving the signal and sending to the brain like nose. So now when I see the word brain here, I see that the child is able to pull an example from the text. Absolutely, Sugandha. We can ask them questions regarding what they see, like I shared with you, some examples from their real life. Absolutely. All right. So I'll wait for some more time to see how many more people participate if you're getting the hang of it, because there's only 35% who've participated. All right, this is interesting. Yes, because all of these organs work together to complete the particular task. And then again, you can ask for an example from your students. Can you give me an example of where you're using all the organs to complete one task? And or give me an example where you're not using all the sense organs, something. So again, challenging and pushing your students to think more, deeper, and building real life connections. That is what we are looking at, right? Yeah, we eat sweet, it goes in brain, and by brain we feel happy and good. Yes, they are interconnected. Wonderful, right? So this is probably, you would get to know that that's the connection that the child has built from his or her real life. Great. Eyes see flowers and nose smell and skin feels softness of petals. Great. All right. So this again, if you see, all these things are just leading to active participation in the classroom rather than student being passive learners, right? Uh, so another 2 more minutes. I'll wait for 50% participation. Just trying to be more greedy and wanting all the members to participate. And now if you see, there are different perspectives, right? You're also, there's not only that you're looking out for one answer that's correct, right? All the answers are correct in their own way, isn't it? So that also sends a message to the class that people have different perspectives. And that's what is needed in today's world, right? It's not one way of doing things. You're also building creativity in the class. And diverse thinking. Okay. All right. Let's move forward. Okay. How will this, now I want you to step into a role of a teacher and think, how will this routine help you get an insight into your students' learning? What information will you get as a teacher? So you've had an experience of being a student and probably using these strategies with me. Now, step back and get very hat of a teacher and think, what information or what insight would you get as a teacher of your learners? And like, how would it help you? So, where your students are in terms of their learning. So you can put in your answers again. Right? Type in here so that I can see it. Since you've already experienced 2 routines, we did a prior learning, like prior knowledge test. Then we also looked at intentional teaching. We did a quickly an informal assessment through a quiz, right? Again, we used another strategy, that is think, pair, share. Now, as a teacher, if I step back, what insight would I get into my students' understanding or learning or where they are? Sakshi, can you add a little bit more about previous knowledge of the child? Like what exactly? Encourage children to be creative and help develop in inventive. Yeah, okay. So that is what you're helping. I'm trying to ask you if you've used a VTR called KWL. You've used I think, I wonder. You've used think, pair, share. Now, what is it through those strategies that you would get to know about your students in the class? Think about that now. But all students will give different answers, yes. So that means understanding, getting more information on it from the children, all right? Okay. They're staying connected to the topic, the answers that they're giving. Do you mean that? Ready to take their knowledge gradually and on, okay. Yeah, they're building on to their perspectives. Yeah, whether the concept is clear or not, absolutely. If there are any misconception that needs to be dealt in the class. All right. I also, and also what they're curious about. Yes, the questions that they've put in their wonderings. Encourage them to write full meaningful answers. Yes, you can push them to do that. Okay. All right, we'll wait for some more to participate. It's just 17% participation. Let's wait for a few more. People to jump in. Remember, these routines is not about right or wrong, right? So it creates a non-threatening environment, like all answers are accepted. And that's your perspective as far as you're able to explain them, right? So unlike a classroom where it's just right, this is right and this is wrong, where it's very threatening because what if I'm wrong? These routines help you to, again, bring in diversity in the classroom, again, creativity, critical thinking. So it's not about this is the only way of doing things. All right. Okay. By knowing about their perspective and knowledge about the topic, yes. What do they think about it? Absolutely. All right, wonderful. Okay, so let's move forward with, again, after you've seen if there were some misconceptions, then you address those. So let's look at, we had a few people share about the brain being a commonality between passing on. So you have again some intentional teaching, which I again pulled it out from the chapter. So mom, I'm not getting the taste of an orange. Why? Because you have a blocked nose due to cough. Do you know our nose and tongue are special partners? Together, they help us to enjoy the taste and the smell of the food. So then again, you can address any misconception. You can again do some intentional teaching after while you've scattered your VTRs in the lesson. Okay, so if there's anything my children are not able to understand, you address those, right? That's how I brought this. Now, let's look at another activity that I've put here is like a sharing kind of a thing, where you look at the pictures and match it. I've pulled out some real life examples and I'm trying to see whether the students can build connections to the sense organs and how, what would they use to get, make meaning out of it. So for example, if there's smell, what is it that what would connect with smell, right? So this is again a kind of activity that can be brought in. This is not a VTR, but this is again an ongoing assessment that I have brought in your lesson. All right, so you can engage in this. Great. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for others to participate. Again, this is also one way of teaching, right? It's like self-learning. Okay, we'll wait for some more time. Maybe 4 more minutes. I hope everybody is able to join in, like have an access to this thing, because I do see their names. Okay, 3 more minutes. Two more minutes. What do you think? What picture goes with smell? What does this represent? What is feel? What is it that you would like to feel? How do you think is the texture of this picture? What do you think is going to be the taste? All right, 1 more minute. And then we are going to move to the next. Okay. Last call for anybody who would like to participate in this jigsaw puzzle. If you're physically doing it in the class, you can have flashcards. Okay. So, another strategy that I've used is to sum up everything is Oli, which says that look at the picture, okay? So if you look at this picture here, again, focusing on your observational skills and something that is related to our unit or our topic that is on senses. What do you see in the picture? What do you observe? So O is for observe, okay? List the things that you see in the picture. Okay, now I'm focusing on details for my students to look at. So what list the things that you see in the picture? What do you observe? How does this link to what we are learning about? So observe, list, link, and how do sense organs help us to explore the world around? So that is something that you would like, I would want you to write in your own language. How do sense organs help you to make meaning of things around? What do they help you do? So you need to explicitly write it in your own words. Okay, this can be your, you might call it as a summative assessments. So I'm focusing on observational skills. Why? Because sense organ is a science chapter and chapter from EVS where I'm developing scientific skills, and observational skills are a part in early years or in primary elementary years. All right. List the things. Again, creating a list is also self-management skills. Again, you're focusing on the skill set. And then how does it link to your unit or to the what we are already learning or what we are already doing, right? That is again encouraging students to think building on their critical thinking, recall, all those things. And how do sense organs help you to explore around? So paraphrasing, writing it in your own words. Let's see what you come with. Okay. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes for this. Let's see. And remember, it's if you see, if I say, well, I see a man walking in a black coat, or I see a man standing under the light, or I see yellow trees, right? There's no correct answer, right? So the assessment is non-threatening, all right? It is again adding to each other's, having a shared understanding, building on to what we already know, adding more details. I see a group of people walking on the street. I see that it is autumn. And if a child writes that, you might want to ask, what makes you see that? Say that. What makes you write that? I see it's evening. How do you know it's evening? Because I see the lights on. So these are the conversations that would add or build up to the classroom discussions. I'm just giving you some examples. All right. Now, when I read, I see beautiful natures with trees, shrubs, yellow, many trees give shelter to many birds. So now for that student, probably I would say, oh, well, this one knows how to write describing words, right? The child knows about shelter. The child is trying to build connections with habitats, birds. And so this is just not to do with, what do you say, just one topic. It also gives you a lot of information about child's knowledge in other spheres also. The sense organs help me to see different colors, lights. Okay. Okay. Five more minutes. Great. So, like, I have somebody sharing for feeling the weather, skin is used for exploring around eyes, ears. So, see, this is correct too. And even the one that's written here, probably, how do the sense organs helps to see different colors. That's right too. It's not that this is right and that is incorrect, right? So you're encouraging everyone to participate, everyone to write. And as a teacher, you can also give specific feedback to each one rather than giving one good job and saying, well done. You might want to add, okay, how about looking how the sense organs are interconnected, right? How else do the sense organs help you? So you can give very specific feedbacks to your students also. Wow. Great. Amazing. Now, somebody said, okay, yellow trees show spring season. Yes. Yeah. Great. All right, 3 more minutes, guys. And this can be shared in the classroom. You can ask students to come and present their work. You can again add another layer by saying, okay, now you can share your Ollie strategy. Think, pair, and share. Come on, work with your partner. Share your Ollie strategy with your friend sitting next to you and see what your friend has written. And what is it that you need to add to your work? So again, there's peer learning that's happening in the class. So it's not entirely on the responsibility of the teacher. It's a shared responsibility that we have in the class. All right, 2 more minutes. I see people saying ears can help us to listen the sound of nature, birds, surrounding. See the real life connection that you're building, which gives me an insight about how do I use my sense organs every day? How do they help me? Wonderful. 1 more minute. And you see everybody's engaged, right? It's just not the teacher who's doing a lot of talking. If in a real life classroom, everybody would be working, and you can give them an option to draw also. If you think that writing would be difficult, you can ask your students to draw as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. So now let's look at what is visible thinking routine, okay? How are they used in the classroom? So I have shared a short video. I'm going to also play it here for you. You can see it on your device.
What can we as educators do to help students become better thinkers? One might assume that a good place to start is to teach thinking skills, but is teaching skills enough? We often miss opportunities to use the skills we have simply by not noticing times when they might be useful. Good thinkers not only know how to think creatively, critically, and deeply, they actually do it. They have a repertoire of thinking moves to draw on, they're inclined to use them, and they're sensitive to the times when thinking would be helpful. In other words, they're in the habit of observing, analyzing, and questioning. So can we teach this? Researcher educators at Project Zero have been exploring this question for many years and think the answer is yes. The thinking routines they have developed as part of their research invite learners of any age to be close observers, to organize their ideas, to reason carefully, and to reflect on how they're making sense of things. These routines are flexible enough to be used to engage learners with any artifact, system, or concept, including their own thought processes. Thinking routines are simple structures, for example, a set of questions or a short sequence of steps that can be used alone or with a group. They are designed to be easy to remember, practical, and to invite a broad range of thinking moves. They are well suited to leverage the power of collaborative thinking and transfer easily to any context. You can use them without training or prior experience, figuring out how they work along with your students just by using them. Thinking routines help students go beyond the superficial, inviting them to dig deeper by making the complex accessible. Through practice, learners become sensitive to opportunities to use their thinking moves in the wild, helping them to develop habits of mind that will sustain their curiosity inside and outside the classroom. Given the broad range of thinking routines available, it might be tempting to try out as many routines as possible. But this approach can turn them into mere strategies, subverting a core aspect of their design that they get used over and over again. Choosing one core thinking routine, for instance, See, Think, Wonder, and trying it out in as many contexts as possible is more likely to reveal the ways thinking routines can support individuals in developing habits of thinking and groups in developing a culture of thinking together. Once you and your students get comfortable with the idea of using a routine for structuring your thinking, it's easier to branch out and find routines that fit well with the kind of thinking you'd like to invite. For instance, asking deep questions, making connections, coming up with explanations, challenging those explanations, and exploring alternative perspectives. Thinking routines might at first seem too simple, but it is their simplicity that makes them easy to remember and to use. Rather than simplifying ideas, thinking routines offer straightforward ways to sustain learners in their inquiry into complex problem spaces. While it does take time, using thinking routines in your classroom cultivates a community of thinkers with a culture of thinking, supporting learners in becoming intentional in their shared pursuit of deep understanding.
Okay, so if you would have seen, I actually used a KWL strategy to have to get an insight about your understanding of visible thinking routine. I took you through an hands-on experience, knowing where you were, and gave you those kind of experience of where you could implement them in the classroom. I did some intentional teaching on visible thinking routines through this video. All right, this is how I've led you through. So if you would have seen, the video did speak to you about a shared collaborative understanding, building on perspectives in the class, right? Creating generalized statements like we did in an OLLI, having more observational, putting down those things, having a pattern of thinking. Okay, what do I see? What do I think? What do I want to know again? So these are a few ways of implementing. And like in the video, it shared that there is no right way of doing it. You need to first introduce them to your students, get them comfortable with the one process, and then apply it in different contexts. You might want to use it in different areas. All right, once your children are familiar. And the ideal way of doing is that you could also use a visible thinking routine and share your like, I see this. You could talk about how are you visualizing it, or how are you going forward with it. Like if you have a picture, you might want to tell your students that, oh, I see a beautiful flower, so that you're giving examples. I wonder what kind of a season it is. I wonder where the birds are going. So your children know how to frame those questions. You can give explicit examples in the classroom. All right. Let's move forward. Now, what I want you to do is pick up any one activity from your lesson and use a VTR. Okay, any one VTR. You could pick up any, you have your smile books with you, pick up, or if you don't have them, any one lesson that you plan to teach. Just pick up one activity and use any one VTR, whether it's KWL, whether it's IC, I wonder, whether it's Think, Pair, Share, or OLI, and try create a lesson around it. And you can put a small overview of your lesson on this collaborative space. Again, this is your resource, your shared work, and we can share it with all of you then. Akita, should we let people question first in case they have any questions, and then you want to go ahead with this?
Sure, we can do that. So you want us to give them access to unmute their mics?
Yeah, they can unmute and they can ask questions, and then we can probably go back to this piece. Does that work? Because I don't want to rush in the end, just quickly go finishing of their questions and queries, right?
Right.
So I
Okay.
can stop sharing. They have an access to this any which ways.
Yes, they do.
Okay. We can unmute them and let's have them ask any questions, because it's about applying in the class.
So we've given everybody access to unmute their mics now. But please, can I request everybody to raise their hands if they have any questions, and we can take questions one by one.
Sure, that sounds good. Like even as a matter of fact, if you want to frame an activity and you say, this is the challenge, I don't think, how should I do? We can help you do that. We had somebody raise hand at the beginning of the session, right? Or you've just you're busy thinking about the activity and posting it there.
Everybody, you can unmute yourself and you can ask a question if you have any questions in your mind. Please remember to raise your hand first.
If there aren't any questions, then either I'm very good at delivering.
I think everybody is busy with the collaboration board.
Wonderful. That's interesting.
I have a question, Sandeep.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Tell me one thing. Our teachers are always concerned whenever they are doing the VTRs, any of them. Are they supposed to correct them?
See, you will have to give a feedback. It's not that you're not supposed to correct it, right? It's a student work. So it requires feedback or probably a suggestion or something that you would say, oh, well done. I quite like what you've written. Or would you like to add more details to it? Because these are the points where you see some misconceptions also coming up. So it is not that VTR means that you don't check them and you think that they're done and dusted and just keep them aside. No, that's an activity. That's one way of engaging the students. And it's just like, it's not a worksheet, but it's a open-ended task that you've given to the students.
No, I understand, but our traditional system of copy corrections and then it goes to home and then the parents also get back up. "Theek nahi kara." But I think it's all about guiding the students, teachers taking around when they are actually working on these VTRs in peer group or maybe in a larger group. Teacher takes around and just scaffolds information for them or guides them.
Yeah, like I shared with you, everything
Yeah.
does not has to be on teachers' shoulders, right? It's also about
Yeah.
teaching. So when I have said, okay, now if I've given an Ollie and I say, okay, now let's think, pair, and share what your friend has written to what you've written, and what is it that you would like to add more to your piece. So let's say you and I exchange work, and then I see, you have a different idea that as compared to mine. I would like to take your idea and put it on my paper, or you might want to give a feedback on my paper in a different that is one way of giving feedback, right? It's not about teacher only giving feedback to everyone. It's a shared community, it's a shared responsibility. Those days have gone. Just wore the hat of knowledge and said that I am going to teach and I have everything. It doesn't work any longer. We are still in the learning process. So again, going around, like you said, scaffolding the whole process, giving feedback, whether it's verbal or written, whether it's peer feedback, or whether you say, okay, now what you've read, you would want to add something. That is a self-reflection again in itself. Like if you read my work and you say, this is what I want to add to my piece of work, that's a reflection that you've come back and realized, oh, this is incomplete. I would like to add more to it, right? So that's all about it.
And in the beginning, the children, I think, find difficult to comprehend that how do they put their thoughts on a paper.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
how do we help at that stage? I mean,
So
I know if it's I see, I think and wonder, but how does see, I understand. Think and wonder, how do they differentiate and put anything on a paper to what is the expected outcome, maybe just to guide the teachers?
sure. So like you don't just use I see, I think, I wonder and answer the question. You put very specific question. What do you see in the picture? What kind of living things do you see in the pictures? I'm just giving you, okay? Or what kind of colors do you see in the pictures? Or what kind of structures do you see? Okay. What do you think, like what part of the day it is?
I request all teachers to put yourselves on mute, please. We can hear everything.
Okay, it's okay. What do you think, what kind part of the day it is? What do you think? What makes you say that? So if you put specific questions, what you want your students to answer, or what is it that you want to learn more about the topic? What is it that you're unclear about the topic? So that is your wondering. And initially, like just if you're reading a text, so it's always nice. Yeah, so it's always nice if the teacher models it out, models her thinking to her students. Because if you say, because today when we say that it has to be a student-led classroom, and you want your students be environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you say, but बच्चे तो सवाल पूछते ही नहीं है.
Hmm.
In our culture, in our community, right, when we see students asking too many questions, we either put them down and we say, they ask so many questions, we don't encourage it, right?
Hmm.
But when you model it out and you encourage and you celebrate, that's the time they start asking questions.
Hmm.
The children are curious by nature, but unfortunately, we put that thing, pin it down, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to start encouraging. And these routines help you to establish those routines in the classroom. And you celebrate. That's not about um, incorrect or incorrect questions, right? All questions will drive some kind of a conversation in the classroom.
Hmm.
Said that, I also feel with the standardized framework, teachers have time constraint, but the alternate ways are, okay, we are going to address 2 questions, we are going to park rest of the questions in the parking lot, and or the teacher makes a note of it, and I leave them up in the morning in a circle time. And the moment you start practicing that, you will have active learning that's going to take place, right? Children will come and share their personal experiences. They will come and share their personal stories and they will take it back home. Then your parents won't say, मेरा बच्चा तो घर आके कुछ बताता ही नहीं है कि क्लास में क्या होता है.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think this is really helpful because the questions that I am asking you are asked by my teachers when we go out for trainings. So these are the questions as teachers have in their minds about corrections, about how do we do it? Is it to be corrected? So you understand, I mean, our teachers just want to know how we can smoothly and then take them through all these VTRs. And I'm sure they're going to be very helpful.
Yeah, but just don't take too many things all on board, right?
Yes.
So let's say if I am using one VTR and I plan to check, right? Maybe my first step could be just using a VTR. Second could be that I am going to start giving personalized, whether it's oral feedback or written, one thing that I will do. All right. The other could be, now next step 2 is that I will include my students. So my students will give feedback to each other. Third could be that my students will read each other's work and then they will reflect on their own work. They will write a reflection in the end. What is it I learned from my friend? So each one has a checking piece done. First is yours. Go gradual.
Yes. Right.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, yes, certainly you did. Can we check out our chat box? If we have any question from the audience, we would love to answer them.
Well, I don't see any. Or should we go to the? I don't see any. I don't know if you have a separate.
We can go to the next part of our. We can certainly move on then.
Okay, so let's look at this place. Oh, wonderful! I believe people were already working on it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the collaboration that's taking place here, Shifali. People are commenting on each other's work.
Yes. I think by the end of the session, we've got the groove. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we can share this with you. So this is your place to go refer to.
And actually, after the session, we can send you the complete report of how many people answered, how many did not answer, how many of you answered all the questions, and there were people who didn't even answer even one this thing. So we can send you all that. The idea is that this is how you can make your lessons interactive.
Yeah. And I think if you all collaborate, like imagine there are 62 people who've joined this session. So you have 62 ideas on board. Guys, you're a great community. So just I can help you. I can create with you. Right? Because you wanted to do that. So I see a water cycle here. And let's see, what is it? I can't really see. Okay, I do see this, but how about adding the VTR that you're going to see? So if you have a water cycle, what kind of a VTR are you going to try to use, right? It'll be nice if you put that here. I wonder why it rains, okay? Like for this, Sakshi, if you put this video of health, choose healthy food, what kind of, again, questions would you want your students, like what Shifali said, VTR, what kind of questions, specific, I think I wonder, or what kind of fruits do I see? Which are the healthy and non-healthy? What do you think? Why do you think they are unhealthy? Add details. Okay. Okay, which interesting. What of transport would you like to choose? Yeah, and why? What kind of means of transport do you see? Which one do you think you will use? And why would you use? Wonderful. Great. All right, 7 more minutes. Let's see. Okay, list the food items. Pick up your favorite food. Great. Why? It's very important to ask why, guys. Because only why, how will give you an insight. That would involve discussion in the classroom. Okay. 7 more minutes we can give them. I wonder why it rains. Or what do you think makes the water cycle? Okay. Which is your favorite food and why? Tell the benefits of healthy food. All right. Now try and connect it to the VTR. I see, I think, I wonder. Ollie, think, pair, share. All right, 6 more minutes. You can also put any feedback or what is it that you would want to know more, or where is it that you want support from us. Okay. I see people are still working and adding to this. After, yeah. Which healthy food are important for our body? Why healthy food are important for our body? Why do you think healthy food is important? Or what do you think makes a healthy food? What do you think makes a balanced diet? How do you think we can make a balanced meal? So you'll also have to think about the questions, basically. It's playing with the questions, making them more open-ended. So like, which mode of transport do you use daily? Would definitely bring in a diverse conversation, but why would get you dig more deeper. And which kind of transport is this? Is just a recall, right? A surface level. So try and look at more deeper questions, framing. Yeah. Or how else can you communicate? Commute. Yeah. Okay, 3 more minutes. Last opportunity or last call.
I think we can let our participants to give the feedback if they wish to. They can unmute themselves and share their learning.
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. Okay.
We've got some silent participants today, but I'm sure some would like to, unmute themselves and talk.
You can also discuss about your challenges that, Sandeep, we don't think it works. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been a teacher too. So I've taught in classroom and I know some things are very difficult. So till the time you don't share your challenges, we won't be able to help you. Okay.
I think once now, after the session, once our teachers go back to the books, they'll have a different angle to, looking at this, the whole thing actually.
Yeah.
And I think teachers should go back and, work on all these 4 or 5 VTRs that we've shared for every concept which is there in the book, irrespective of the subject actually.
Absolutely. Even having a circle time can involve a VTR.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, or PSPE also, or AHAT. See, somebody had a question, right? Okay.
I think Sandeep, you're good to wrap up. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shefali.
Thank you, Sandeep. I'm glad that you've answered a few questions that I had in my mind, because the questions that I asked you come from our own teachers actually. And I'm sure our children, after this understanding, our teachers would be able to actually make our children think creatively, deeply, and most importantly, make them think.
Yeah,
just make them think.
सोचना क्या है?
सोचना क्या है?
पूछना क्या है?
Yeah. So it was a wonderful session, Sandeep, as always.
Thank you.
So I'm sure, this was a platform where we wanted to give the exposure for the Neopod. So at times it must have gone a little low at times, but I'm sure this was just an exposure where our teachers got to know how to use, VTRs. At the same time, this platform that will really help them out. So we anchored for 2 things actually. So I think it was a great opportunity. Thank you, teachers, on behalf of Sarah Education. Many more sessions coming up already. For more information, please go to our website and you see our upcoming webinars. So you keep on visiting our platform there. So every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's decided that we have a session. So please go to the website and register there. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, participants. Have a lovely evening.